Welcome to yet another episode of Can.Did Talks. As you all know, this is the show that explores the story between can and did. A lot of us really think we can do a lot of things. Only a few of us go out there and do these things. A lot of channels, a lot of platforms out there focus on what happens after we do it. Very few out there are trying to explore the story between can and did. I've been privileged, humbled, and honored to be interviewing so many lovely people over the last few months. But this one's special for me because with whose inspiration I got into podcasts, somebody that I look up to crazily is on my show today. And that excites me. As you all know, this is the series season 2 that we're doing for the Women's Day 2021. Who I have today is Souniya Khurana, who is the co-founder and CEO of WYN Studios, and also the co-founder for India Network. Something that I learned from India Network all the while I keep preaching this now is to connect, collaborate, and learn as well. Sonia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Teja. I think I'm really, really grateful to be here and really humbled. Uh, and I'm surprised that you started podcasting. You mention it. That's your modesty, but the fact that you as a person brings so much experience, so much insights, and there was no reason why you shouldn't have started the podcast because I think that is the medium that everybody now needs to start connecting with because audio just maximizes the time that people invest. It just maximizes the return on that time invested. So I'm glad that you started this, and I'm glad that Vine is a part of inspiring that journey. So and thank you for having me on this show, Teja.
So my intro, Sonia, to the podcast world really started with Practically Geeta. The topic, the subject intrigued me. I downloaded that. I saw it was fun, insightful, spiritual, everything put together. I said, and then of course I follow you on social media, and I say, you know what, my next hobby, podcast, and now it's almost become like my alternate profession, though I don't make money through that. But thank you, Sonia, again for being here. I need one clarity though. For a long time, I thought it was WYN Studios, but I've been corrected that it is Wine. What's behind this name? What's the story? What's the narrative? Like how you always keep saying, what's your narrative? What's the narrative for Wine?
I think you just put it into words. I think I don't need to say any more any further on this. So, back in June, or I should say July 2019, that's when I met Bijay, who's also my co-founder, also podcasting coach, and very well respected in the fraternity. So, I attended one of his workshops up in the mountains, Himalayas, and learned podcasting. I knew about podcasting much before that, but that's when I learned it hands-on. So I was already contemplating doing something around content, and we got onto this conversation that why not explore synergies and take this up. So July 2019, we started talking, and September 2019 is when we registered the company. And August, I remember, since you mentioned this conversation that Practically Geeta is a show that really inspired you. So one of the first things that we really wanted to do was start off with a podcast which is around the Bhagavad Gita, because somehow both me and Vijay really connect to that scripture for the insights that it brings. Not that both of us have studied or dived deeper into it, but just because we connect with it, we felt that, what could be better than starting with something which is around that beautiful scripture that really has some great principles, great insights in every shloka and every chapter, every verse. Though it did not happen to be our first podcast, but that was the first podcast that we were discussing. We still, sometimes things that pop up, we see that, oh, this was in August 2019 that we were discussing a show around Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, coming back to why Wine Studio. So WYN, like you already said, when you asked me that question, what's your narrative? So WYN stands for what's your narrative?
Are you
WYN.
serious? I didn't know that. Users, listeners, viewers, everybody, that was a pleasant surprise for me. I did not know that this was not staged. Sonia, please tell them this was not staged. Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So
Lovely.
yeah, the so I am surprised you didn't know that. You asked me that question, and I'm like, okay, maybe
No,
he knows
because
it
I
already.
hear you speak in even as a part of India networks on you. I've always heard you tell people, right? Don't come with PPTs, don't come with PowerPoints and hefty pitch decks. Come with your story. What's your narrative, right? And I think one of your I don't know where this was. Sorry for that, but one of your talks in a college, you actually mentioned that, right? I would rather, as an investor, be happy with 5 slides that tell me what narrative you've built around your product, because everything else we can help you out, but the narrative has to come from your heart. And so I remember that when you said that. So that's all I asked, because I didn't know, honestly. I should have done more homework. I am sure I'll get better at podcasting. You're making me nervous now.
No, but that's amazing that you did look into a talk, and I don't really remember where I said this, but yeah, that's and honestly, that's where the idea of even starting a content studio for me actually personally came up much before I met Bijay, because we were, when I was really actively involved in India Network, working at the grassroots level, connecting with so many startups and entrepreneurs in tier two towns and tier three towns, and so many, really grassroots level. There's some phenomenal innovations. There are some phenomenal offerings that each of these startup founders in small cities have, what we call Bharat. So it sounds Bharat versus India sounds like a cliche. The next 1 billion sounds like a cliche. Everybody's talking about that. But that's, and I don't need to say this, the reason Geo and so many others are penetrating that place is because they can see the potential. And that's where we found that, a lot of them have great offerings, great products, great innovations in place, yet they don't know what is the narrative, what is the story that they need to really share, which is authentic, yet something that will make their go to market much easier. So that's where the idea of, filling this gap actually started propagating that thought in me and that seed in me that, why not try to help and figure out a way to get these startup founders and entrepreneurs and people to really understand, what is the way that they can share a narrative which is authentic, yet something that is meant for the market they want to enter into. So that was my idea of starting this, and podcasting only made me feel that that's probably the way and the medium to actually get this wheel running and going. So that's how Wine Studio came to be. And September 2019. So the company, in fact, the registered company name is Narratify You Media. So that's like narratives, amplify you media. So
Wow.
that's the name of the company. In fact, the venture is Narratify You Media Private Limited, and the brand name is Wine Studio. So that's how we started. And what's your narrative? Literally, if you ask in Hindi, or if you actually start figuring out कि यार मेरे को I can understand what the product is, I can understand what this service is, but कहानी क्या है? We always tend to ask this question, boss, कहानी क्या है? So uska literal English translation is what's your narrative? And that's how Wine happened.
And at a deeper level, as interestingly, you say narrative. One of I closely follow Simon Sinek, and one of his videos he talks about nobody cares. The customers don't care what and how you do it. What they connect to is your why. That sounds a little bit of a little bit rich and academic, but narrative makes it so simple, right? I mean, that's really why I've quit a job and I'm starting something up, because there is a story somewhere that I feel strongly. So, but I'm curious, Sonia, why, you know, I, I know your LinkedIn profile, and everywhere it says you want startups and people to realize the power of audio. When the world is moving ahead with OTT platforms and videos and whatnot, isn't this a step back, or How did that happen? I'm just curious to know.
So, thank you for asking that question, Teja. You know what the world experienced, I think the timing of the pandemic, unfortunately for us, was right. And why I say unfortunately is that because it is an unfortunate event, it's a black swan event, the world is going through this together, yet the fatigue that it created with the constant consumption of visual content through Zoom, through Netflix, through Amazon Prime, through so many other such OTT and other platforms is insane. Nothing wrong with it. We all want to entertain ourselves, we all want to educate ourselves, we all want to feel inspired, motivated, and so many others, so many other emotions that content, creates for us. We all want it, we all need it. Yet, visual content, what it does is that it engages you with, it needs you to lean in. It is something that makes you experience content, experience the richness of that content, yet be engrossed with more than one senses and sensory organs in place. Your eyes, your ears, everything has to be there for you to be able to really consume it, right? And it creates fatigue like none other.
Right.
Yet, on the other hand, audio is something where you can just experience the content, you can still consume the content, be it fiction, be it non-fiction, be it something that has education as a core purpose that you want to solve, be it entertainment, be it inspiration, whatever it is that you're really looking into for that particular from that particular content, it still solves that with you still being involved in other things. You could be driving, yet be consuming it. You could be chopping your vegetables, still be consuming that recipe in audio. Or you could simply be, spending time in the gym, in the salon. It fills the white spaces.
Right.
And each one of us, Teja, each one of us loves to do more in less. Be it money, we want to utilize, we want more efficiency and more worth from less money, and we want more return on the time that we invest. Yet, if it is 5 minutes that I want to invest into content consumption, I want to ensure that I'm able to do more with it. So while I'm consuming it and getting inspired, educated, entertained, laughing, crying, whatever, yet I want ki ha, us time pe I'm able to do something more. And it
Right.
solves that purpose. Plus, is it new? Not really. The culture of audio may have started with radio,
Video.
but the
Correct.
culture of, humans are wired for stories. We all love great stories.
Right.
Our
Totally.
grandparents used to pass down stories generations down generations. And so did our ancestors. We used to sit in those chopals together in the evenings when everybody was back home after farming, after doing whatever chores, when the lights were off. They used to sit together, talk of various stories of what's happening around them. And we are so wired for stories.
And since
So,
since we talk about practically Gita, Sonia, Abhimanyu learned Padma and all of that in his womb. So his first senses that were active while he was a baby in the womb was also audio. So I think even from a perspective of evolution, I think it's our auditory senses that start working first while we are still in the womb. So I think what you're saying makes sense.
absolutely, absolutely. You pointed that out, and in fact, incidentally, coincidentally, today a friend who's also with me here in Ladakh, where I'm right now, is celebrating her son's 4 month, 4th month birthday, and we were incidentally having the same conversation that Abhimanyu learned the whole thing about the Chakravyu
Oh,
while
sorry,
he was still
Chakravarti.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
womb
yeah.
while he was still in the womb.
Correct.
So I remember, she was telling her son that this is color red, this is that. And one of my friends who was sitting along with us said that, do you really think he's listening and he's understanding a bit? And that's what she pointed out that, Abhimanyu ne Chakravyuh tab सीखा था जब वो womb में था. So don't be surprised that he might even subconsciously register this.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're all so auditory senses are so strong that uh, somewhere we just do not give it enough value. We just do not give it enough leverage that we give to a visual medium. So वही है ना, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है,
Exactly.
पर जो सुनता है वो शायद से ज़्यादा अच्छे से register होता है. But we just need to talk more about it. We just need to let the world know the power of audio.
Right.
And that's my LinkedIn profile talks about how I can help brands leverage the power of audio.
Right. But was this a gut feel, or did you actually do some market research, or you were looking at trends? Because things like podcasts were already popular outside of India. The West already had adopted that, and they got onto that bandwagon. Was that inspired, or did you get your confidence looking at the fact that it worked somewhere else, or was there some science that you put behind this before you took that jump into wine?
So for me, honestly, it was a more stronger gut feel than being very insight driven. Uh, yes, I knew about it also because I think 2017 or 18, I was in Estonia for a very international event, and that's when I actually got to know. That's when I first heard what a podcast is, and also that was incidentally the time when I had my first iPhone. An iPhone, incidentally, again, has the podcast app inside. It's a native
Yeah,
app,
yeah.
right? So it kind of started making sense. I just started connecting the dots that this is something that has the potential. And now that I am connected to somebody who already has that strength, and I'm very passionate about stories, about helping people understand, what's really the story that will really connect, which is authentic yet something that will connect with the audience. I think that's just, the jigsaw puzzle just started to fall in place. So I did not really have as many insights that I have now. So more of gut feel than insights. But yeah, I think we headed on the right path.
So if falling in place had a brand ambassador, right, of how well some things fall in place when you're passionate about something, I think wine's an example. It's a brand ambassador for that, Sonia, because I know you just got funded. I think you raised another round for 2 crores. Of course, the Western media would like to believe it was 2 rupees. It was hilarious when I saw that article. You didn't let go of any chance to take a jab at them, but congratulations. I think it's a great gratification to what you've done and the hard work your team has put in over the last 1.5 year now on this. But something that,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up again. I think that was a funny moment, so a little tongue in the cheek moment for me. I had not till then shared anything which was related to our in raising the fund, and of course the confidence that the investors had shown into wine. Yet I think that news that was published in it was a Illinois news, I think,
Yeah.
that shared this that we've raised 2 rupees, so at a 20 CR valuation, and that was funny, that was hilarious. So I felt that was a must. That was like a Guinness World Book of Record kind of a thing.
Right. Right. So something that, one, it was hilarious for sure. But as I look through, see, as another startup entrepreneur, funding is always a great news to read through. So I take a lot of interest to read through again the narrative that led to this funding. One thing that caught my attention, Sonia, is your collaborations and the team that you've selected, right? And I know there's a thought that went in there. There's a lot of prep. I see you're very intentional about your collaborations. Again, this is basis the stalking that I do of your profile on social media. But what goes behind the wine studio boardroom, if I can say that, when you select new podcast shows or when you partner with new people? What goes on in your team?
So I think when it comes to the shows, we of course speak to a lot of people, and it's not that, if we have a conversation, you might have a great idea, but for a lot of people, something that you brought up initially to our conversation was the Simon Sinek quotation, right? People do not buy what you sell or what you do. People buy why you do it, right? It is about the why. So if the person that we are collaborating with does not really have a very clear why, we do not get into it. We can defer it, but we do not get into it. Apart from that, I think one thing that we are very clear, especially between me and Bijay, are the core values of the organization. So when we started sitting from office, working from office early this year in January, uh, most of our team was hired remotely last year. And we just thought that, why not just first, apart from the fact that a lot of people who are staying in Delhi NCR start working from office, those who are not stationed in Delhi NCR just come for 1 week of that training, and a lot of intentional conversation and a lot of really, making this a safe space and identifying what our core values are. What do we really stand by as an individual, and does it match with what our organizational values are? And it was not for me and Bijay to share what our organizational values are. It was the team who together came with it. So if we are, and the same applies to the people we collaborate with when we work with partners, when we work with creators, some basics that we guide ourselves with is, of course, the core values. What is this person really talking about? Is it even authentic? Is it even him or her? Is this really something just that they want to be a podcaster? Or do they really want to create something for the listener? Because if we are not solving, or if we are not offering something which has what's in it for me really outlined for the listener, then it is not worth doing, and it is not worth our time and effort and energy. Money comes much later. So, these are some guiding principles that we work with. And talking about the boardroom, talking about our investors, I think the people who've really put in their time, money, and heart into it, be it Rumi, be it Jyoti, be it Rahul, be it Narendra Firodia, be it, so many others who have really shown that thing that, okay, now we see that you guys are growing, you guys are really going to achieve that height. But more than the idea, more than what we are doing, they have shown that confidence in the team, and that just makes it all the more a responsibility, all
Right,
the more, I shouldn't call it an obligation, but yes, at the heart of it, at the core of it, that, with great power comes great responsibility. So in this case, with great investor money and investor confidence comes great responsibility.
right.
So I think that's from us, that,
And
we are very.
incidentally, you also got this round that you've raised uh, was an all women's team, correct? So it was three people who invested, in all women that took interest in wine.
Yeah, so there were women. Of course, there was Jumi, there was Tanya Sachdev, there's Jyoti, and then there was also Narendra Firodia. Narendra Firodia has put in another round,
Oh wow,
and yeah, and so our ground actually, you know, it's we might just get extended. Though I shouldn't be saying this, it should be off record, but yeah, uh, I ended up saying it.
that's
So
going to be my
yeah,
trailer for this show. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
so yeah, I think, apart from that, Jeetal Shah, Anand, these are the other few investors who put in money a little later, but that's where we closed the round at 2 CR. But post that, quite a few other investors have shown interest and they're wanting to put in more money and at the same valuations. So we might just honestly extend the round. Now that I've said it, the cat is out of the bag, so it is. But yeah, that just might happen.
Right. So I've seen you mentor a lot of startups, and when I say a lot of startups, through the length and breadth of the country, and you travel like crazy. Even the moment lockdown happened, if we pull out the records, you probably are one of the first 50 or 100 people who took flights right after lockdown was open. And I know you've mentored quite a lot of people, and in a lot of ways, me as well, through small conversations sometimes. I remember Strive to Survive, I think, or Strive to Thrive, or something that we've done in New York. That's the first time I got connected to you.
Survive and thrive.
Survive and Thrive. Thank you for correcting me there. Do you have mentors, Sonia?
Absolutely, Teja, absolutely. I think I wouldn't have survived without my mentors. The first startup that I did, which I failed at miserably, and put it under wraps, despite the fact that I still have the heart and calling and the soul for it, was about working with artisans at the grassroots level and creating experiences, craft rich experiences for people like us. Because the idea was, it was called Karigar Connect, and the idea was to make crafts really accessible and make crafts aspirational, make the Indian crafts aspirational, plain Jane and simple. Because when we look at a handcrafted Louis Vuitton bag, which is priced at 3.5 lakh, 4 lakh, 4.5 lakh, we're happy to put in the money. But when it comes to an Indian artisan who really painstakingly puts all the effort into weaving a Paithani sari, which might take 60, 70 to 90 days, we bargain. And how?
Right,
Despite the richness of that craft, despite the story and the legacy of that craft, we bargain for the meager 500,000, 5,000, because the craft buying in India is not aspirational, it's sympathetic. And that's what I wanted to solve. I don't know if it was early in time or the way I was doing it was wrong, but I really did not consult any mentor. Neither did I have a mentor who could really guide me through at that point in time. So I failed at it. A lot of co-founder conflicts, a lot of other things happened, and had to wrap it up.
right.
And then soon after that, India Network happened. That's where I started realizing the power of mentoring, the power of mentorship, and how it can really help you go ahead, miles ahead, with a speed like none other.
Right.
And one of the few mentors that I have, one is Sam Cawthorn. He's based in Australia. He's somebody who's really instilled in me the confidence to be shameless, to be. He's given me the ball to. There was a time. So he's a professional speaker. He's a speaker coach. He's somebody who runs the Speakers Institute and grooms so many other speakers across the world. Has a phenomenal community, and there was one day I just went to volunteer for an event, and he just passed me the ball to just facilitate the room creation and to MC the room. With no previous experience, I was shitting bricks. Sorry
Wow.
to say that. But
And how many
I
people
just
were
got,
there, just out of curiosity?
there were 60 people,
Okay.
but everybody had really paid in big money to be in that event,
Right, right,
to learn. It was a boot camp. It was a highly curated boot camp with facilitators and trainers from across the globe. And that he just passed the ball into my court, that handle it now. And I told him, you know what, Sam, I'm very nervous. I've never done this before, and this is your event, this is your baby. I do not want to mess up. He said, Sonia, nervousness is a sign that you care.
wow.
And that was a moment of epiphany, call it whatever. But I think that's what I keep on telling anybody who joins and whoever's scared in whatever they're doing, whether it is a startup, whether it is an event, whether it is a new client, uh, pitching to a new client, or doing whatever you are, whatever is big for you. There are chances that you might be nervous. But I think that one learning for me, I've carried on throughout my life since the time that came to me. And I really look up to his guidance, um, because he's also a phenomenal business person.
Right,
Then, of course, Rahul Narvekar. He's he's just the person that you look up to when he wouldn't, mentor's role is not to solve your problems. A
True.
lot of times we look at a fact that, mentor is somebody who might just give me the answer. A mentor's role is never to give you the answer. They'd rather point you to the right questions that might guide you to the answer.
Right.
But the onus to look for the answer and dive deeper lies onto you. And that's what I've learned from Rahul. I have seen his journey and experience really up close and personal, be it personally, be it professionally. And I've learned and gathered so much from his experiences that he shares, that he guides me with, that I know that today, the person that I am, the way I lead, the way I'm creating my team, I see those bits that come from his journey that I have learned, that I'm emulating maybe.
Right.
And then there's another beautiful person that I know, Sunita Bidu. She's a coach. She's a business coach and a life coach for me, and somebody that so she's a woman who goes, travels across, coaches people, and is a phenomenal blogger, teaches people how to blog, how to write, how to really present yourself. She's great at personal branding. And she also coached me. I think one thing that she made me look through is my wheel of life. So few things that she's made me look at and introspect deeper and really dive in that journey inwards to be a person who's authentic, who's who's same in and out,
Right.
who's balancing all spheres of life. So yeah, I think these are the three key people that I think have been a mentor and the mentor figures who continue to be. Yet I think one series that I really recommend people to watch is The Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
I agree. I agree.
So that talks and that showcases how a mentor comes into your life in many forms, in many ways. You may not have the same mentor throughout your life. A mentor may come and go, and a mentor chooses you. You are not the person who will choose the mentor.
Absolutely. In fact,
So
I was going to say that after you were done talking about how, while thank you first of all for sharing those names, and I'm going to quickly go and Google their profiles and also see for somebody who's made such a huge difference in your life. But I'm also jealous and envy that that I don't get as much time with Rahul because I'm a huge Ekalavya Sishya of Rahul Narvekar, like you mentioned, and I call him Guruji. In fact, I don't recall calling him Rahul ever. Uh, but I'm definitely jealous of you, Sonia. I must say that on record. I'm going to send this to Rahul as well. So, but it kind of fits in with the with what you just said. The mentor chooses you, right? It's not about me going after people to say, hey, I like it, but I think it's also about they finding that connect more than anything else. And I don't think for mentors is not anything more than the connect and the passion that they see in other people that they would select. So from that perspective, yes, I'm jealous of you. So I'm repeating this the third time. But I am, as exciting as this journey is, and as grounded and flawless your ability to talk, and no wonder why you're ruling the podcast world right now in India. Uh, I am just wondering if uh, when will ever go local. Oh, sorry, wine will ever go local. Are we looking at, I'm a Telugu, right? So, can I expect a Telugu podcast series from Wine soon?
we will. That's what our intention is. Yet before that, we are working on a lot of things because what we also understand is that discoverability of podcasts, of content when it comes to audio is slightly tricky, but there are a lot of developments. And yes, just to answer that, without sharing much on the developments, because those cannot be shared at this moment.
Right.
Yes, we will be going local, we will be going regional, because we see the potential there. In fact, for a lot of our clients that we work with, there's already regional content that we are producing for them, which is not wine originals. But yes, for our clients, we are producing a lot of regional content, be it in Marathi, be it in Bengali, be it in Bhojpuri, soon in Ladakhi. So yes, that is all happening already. Yet we also want to go that route. Yet we feel that it's a little early for us because we need certain preparations, certain things to happen before we go there. So we are that's all work in progress, all WIP.
All WIP, and I'm sure you'll go there because I when you talk, your passion comes out, Sonia, and I perhaps also saw a lot more passion around your Karigari Connect. So hopefully that comes true someday soon as well, in some form or the other. But thank you. I think you've inspired me for sure. I'm sure there are a lot of other people who are inspired by you. Your story tells me that you're also grounded and as modest and humble as any successful person can be. So thank you for talking to us today on the show. Thank you for giving us time. The pleasure certainly has all been mine.
Thank you so much, Teja. And just as a closing note, while you did say that all the success and of course success has come in, but not without failures.
Right.
So I think that is what makes you learn and value and cherish success much better. Also lets you know that nothing is permanent. So whatever comes our way, I think as WYN Studio, as the team that we are ready and prepared for everything that comes our way. So yeah, that's how we are.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much, and good luck with all that you're doing right now. Enjoy your trip in Ladakh. I think you're in the right place right now for this weather. It's getting hot below here in the mountains. Of course, it's very cold. But thank you for your time. Good luck. Do well, and do say hello to Rahul from my side.
I will. Thank you for having me, Teja. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.